Hello, welcome to another Monday Mystery Meeting. This is number 7. Wow, 7 weeks. We've had an incredible run of people who have just shared a bit about what their lives have looked like in lockdown. I'm so thankful to all of them. Honestly, thank you. The last 6 weeks, it's been great just to hear your stories of lockdown. I've found them really encouraging and challenging, and I hope you have as well. So we're going to go into our seventh one now. Again, I enjoyed recording this one. Please note, I have freshly showered hair and different clothes. So yes, you'll have gathered I'm not doing the introduction on the same day, just so you don't spend the whole time not listening to the interview and wondering about my clothes and my hair. But I really hope you're well, and I really hope you enjoy today's Monday Mystery Meeting. Hello, welcome to the Monday Mystery Meeting. This is week 7. I cannot believe that means we've nearly had 2 months of this. And this week's Monday Mystery Meeting, as you can see, is Sharon. Sharon, thank you for joining us. Hello.
Hello.
So welcome to the whole world that watches Riverside, which obviously isn't the whole world, but who knows who's watching this and where they are. You are live on TV, so please do not swear. You know, we've got all those things that we can say. But Sharon, you need your coffees, but tell us a bit about yourself. Just tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so you may have seen me, you may not have seen me. I'm Sharon. I've been a Christian for 48 years. I found Jesus through Aslan in the Narnia series.
Yes, come on.
Absolutely. I still love fantasy today, but I was a fantasy freak when I was younger. So I had a conversation with God in the middle of a starry night in the middle of a field. It was a bit like that Mufasa moment in Lion King. Yeah, yes. It was very much that. So I really identified with that bit of the Lion King. That's fantasy as well. So I love to worship. I love singing. I play a few instruments as well, and I've had a passion for worship, I think, since I picked up my guitar when I was about 17, 18, and just love singing and writing songs and just singing out. That's been since I was a little girl. I've always sung and made up songs, and I can remember running around the lawn when I was probably about 8, singing my heart out, and people walking past and looking at me, thinking, mad child. Yeah, I'm an animal lover. I've got 4 cats and a horse and lots of koi in the pond that you can probably hear trickling away in the background. I love gardening. I've got an allotment, which is a lot of hard work, but very rewarding. And I love art, drawing, painting, needle felting, wet felting. And I want to develop that more when I retire, which hopefully will be within the next couple of years.
Come on, retirement.
Yes.
Wow, so you love all the creative stuff. You're a very creative person. So, I mean, but you're also a teacher. So is that because, so how did you fall into that? Or is that just something that you did to fill the time whilst you were being creative, or do the two marry each other perfectly?
Yeah, I didn't start off by going into teaching. I started off doing a variety of things. So I had one job after another, and some of that was a bit creative and some of it wasn't. And then I had a friend who was training to be a teacher, and she was doing a drama part of her degree as well. So I went in to help her with that by being person in role and dressing up as crazy things. And I just really enjoyed it. And I thought, I want to do this. I quite like this. I think when you're creative, working with children gives you such a lot of opportunity to exercise your creativity. It's so creative in the classroom. You can do all sorts of things. So that's why I went into teaching. I've been a teacher 30 years, head teacher for the last 3 years, deputy head teacher before that. and I work in Smethwick at a big infant school. It's got 360 children from 4 to 7-year-olds in the infant school.
Wow, so you have a very high pressure job and you have so many creative hobbies. How do you balance all of that?
Yes, with great difficulty sometimes. That's why I'm saying that the art, although I've started to dabble again, I'm doing an art course with a really great artist, Sarah Stokes, who lives locally and sells through white wall galleries. She's really fab, but she's been doing a painting and drawing course, so I've enrolled on that, and I've been doing that since Christmas, so that's been lovely to get involved in that again. But I do think that sometimes, you know, I've had to put that aside for a while, but I will go back to it. But I also think that when you've got a high pressure job, you need something creative and also something outdoors if you work inside.
Yeah.
Just your own sanity, and it's therapeutic.
Mm.
It's just something totally different. I love getting mucky.
That's great for working with kids, though. That's perfect attitude.
Not at the moment. It's washing your hands all the time at the moment. Yes.
Wow. So you force yourself to make time for those things, really.
Yes, I do, and I use that as a way of not burning out, because I did go through a time where I very nearly did burn out when I was working as an AST, an advanced skills teacher. And I just thought that it's actually not worth it putting yourself in that position. You don't make yourself any better for anyone else that you're working with or the children, and definitely not for your husband. So I decided that I needed to balance my time and make sure that I got work-life balance. So those things, having an animal that needs my attention, my horse, and having an allotment, all my little plants that need my attention that I go and talk to regularly. Yeah, that is a responsibility. So it keeps me going outside and keeps me doing something different.
Wow, that's so healthy. So there you are with a healthy, trying to keep that healthy work-life balance. You're getting out in your garden, you're seeing your horse, you're doing all the school stuff, and then the coronavirus happens and lockdown happens, and it's like, wow, you suddenly got this balance. What has the last 10 weeks looked like then for you?
All degrees of craziness the last 10 weeks. For me, a lot of it has been reading through government guidance, which they decide to send you at all hours of the day. It's on strange dates, very last minute, some of it, very contradictory, some of it. And then they'll change document and say that they've changed it, but they've only tweaked a little bit of it, but they've not told you which bit they've tweaked. Oh. It's just come at us. All this paperwork, it's coming at us. I think it's starting to stabilize a little bit now. We have a little more clarity. We've got some scientific evidence, and we've got a local picture as well, and local information, which for me was the most important, because I've got to actually do what's right for my community, and the Academy Trust and the board that I worked for need to know about all the local communities so that we can actually take those decisions. Yeah. So it's stabilizing a little bit now, but I've had all sorts of crazy Zoom meetings, and I think, I don't know about anyone else, but I do think that when pressure goes on and coronavirus causes anxiety to arise, we actually respond by being that little bit more crazy and fun. So I've had Zoom meetings in wigs and rollers. Yes. We've changed our names to silly names.
Yes.
Zoom meetings. I got all the staff to put their dressing gowns on for a breakfast meeting, and it's just doing daft stuff like that and just keeping it real as well. Yeah. So that people know that they can have some fun as well.
Yeah. Good. And that's the thing, when all this tension, everything's coming in, you have almost, especially as a leader, I guess, you have this responsibility, you want to do what's right and do what's safe, but you're
Yeah.
aware of people's morale, and you're responsible not just to get it right, but for how people feel about themselves,
Yeah.
aren't you? You want to keep them lifted because they'll do a better job, won't they, if they're
Uh,
spiritually better off.
and for me, every person, I've always, I heard a very wise lady say once when I was beginning teaching, that this job is about growing people, and it's not just about growing children, it's about growing the people that you work with as well. And I thought that was a wonderful thing to say. It really focuses on the individual and growing what they need and growing their own special talents. And what I've seen with this is even more of those individual backstories, because people open up to you and tell you more about what's going on in their lives, and the reasons why they might be more anxious or why this is affecting them. And that's really helped me to respond compassionately and to do what's right for individuals, as well as looking at the whole. And that's a difficult balance to take as a leader.
Yeah. Wow.
As I'm sure you must.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter where you're leading. I think we're all feeling that same strain right now. And it is just everything's new. We're all learning everything all the time. As you say, everything comes through last minute, and it's learning on the fly at all times of day. And you're trying to think of the best for everyone else whilst trying to get a grip of what's going on. It's not the easiest, is it?
Yeah.
So what would you say have been the biggest challenges for you over the last, 10 weeks or so?
Oh, the remoteness, because although we've been in teams and going in, we put the stuff in teams, we've been going in on a 4-week rota, so 1 week in, 4 weeks off. Yeah. I did go in for the first one, but because I didn't have one of those letters then. But then the doctors decided they'd missed me off, so I had to shield. And that's because in the past I've had a stent for heart, for the blocked artery, and I've got holes in my lungs, which is delightful, like one of those Swiss cheeses. It's called bronchiectasis. I'm actually fine. I feel very well. I don't feel like I'm suffering with all these things. I used to get really bad asthma. So that doesn't make it easy, because I feel that I should be there, and I can't be there.
You feel great, but you have a piece of paper saying, "No, you're not." You're like, "No, I am."
I'm critically vulnerable, apparently. Right. So I haven't stayed in the house. I have gone up to the allotment as well, but that's outdoors, so I consider being out there is fine.
And it's not like your allotment is a swarm of people, I'm imagining. You do have the space to be yourself out there.
I think the other thing is the frustration that everything takes 3 times as long, whereas you used to be able to just nip and see someone in their office or their classroom. Yeah. And now you've got to go to set up Zoom meetings, or you've got to email and wait for email replies, or it's just, that's very frustrating. And I don't like being sat in front of a computer all day.
I mean, Zoom is great. I love the fact we can do this. I think we're very lucky that in this situation we have this. But I've got to be honest, I hate it. It's not a replacement for human contact, and it drains me. I literally say to myself, right, Steve, I have 2 Zooms a day, and everything else I do over the phone, because I can't do this all the time. It's very, very hard.
Absolutely. It is draining. And I do think that any new way of working is draining, because you're having to process all of that, and we're taking up a lot of energy at the moment in processing new ways of working, new information. And you've got to be careful that you get the balance right then, because you can feel it when you're, like with my shoulder, when my shoulder started locking up, and I thought, no, I haven't got the balance right. I'm actually sitting for too long. I've got to get the movement in there. But when your anxiety starts to rise or things like that, you've got to put in a change to make sure that you don't go down that road any further. So, yeah.
I guess it's also got to be doubly frustrating for you, because, as you said earlier, one of the things that really you love is about growing people and being there and helping your staff and helping them grow. And here you are, you can't be with your staff, you can't be with your kids. So it's even more difficult to help them grow like this. Feels like there's a barrier.
Yes, there is that on the one side, but then on the other side, you get them if you have personal phone calls with the staff just to check up on them, then they do open up a little bit more because they, you know, I think people are feeling vulnerable, and we've got a lot of BAME, Black and Asian minority and ethnic people on our staff, and certainly in our families as well. And of course, the virus has been even worse for those groups of people. And it's realizing that my experience of the virus is not the same as everybody else's, and everybody has got that story and that take, and actually listening, being able to hear what they're saying and respond to them and their need. Again, that can be quite wearing, as I'm sure that you would know. But I think that's a real privilege. I really appreciate being given that access into people's lives. You know, it is a privilege.
So would you say then, almost through lockdown, as terrible as this situation is, but it's allowed you to almost just draw closer to some of your members of staff,
Yes,
and become more of a support for them actually than you've been able to in the past?
Yes, I think it's drawn us closer together as a team, and I do think, you know, working very closely with senior leaders, we're even closer now as a team, and we've gone into each other's houses via Zoom, haven't we? And we're interacting on a slightly different level. We've got a very active WhatsApp group, which has been incredibly supportive, and again, plenty of vent for our craziness as well on that. We've got a bit gift mad, to be honest.
Yeah, I know gifts are literally, my phone is full of them now. I'm like, well, people stop gifting me.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Yeah. But I think this is the thing with a situation like this. And I was thinking today, you know, everybody lives through something momentous in their lifetime. You know, people have lived through Second World War, grandparents and great grandparents through the First World War. You know, we're living through this at this time. Our children will probably live through climate change and, you know, the impact of that. And at these times, you always see that it brings out the best in people. It brings out the God in people that He's put there innately into people. But it also brings out the inherent evil in the world as well. And you see that. And I think the reactions are stronger. It's more black and white at a time like this in our perceptions of what is the good that's going on and the evil that's going on. And also that, you know, the impact of somebody's sin, of somebody's badness in that wildlife market in China, and that strange need to eat wild animals. You can see why God set up the clean and unclean thing for the Jews, can't you? But that impacts, that somebody's bad choice, somebody's sin impacts on the whole world. But also the goodness of somebody can also impact on a whole society. So it just becomes more apparent. Sorry, I'm waffling now.
No, but I love it because it's true though, and actually when I reflect on what I'm seeing around me, I am seeing so much kindness and goodness and generosity and support. But I'm also, on the times where I'm not seeing that, it's not that I'm seeing nothing, I'm seeing the polar opposite, and it drives me even worse. And it's a minority of this bad stuff that's happening. But it stands out even more because so many other people have stepped into goodness and kindness and generosity. And then that enrages me even more when I see this other stuff. As you say, it's become more polarized. There's less in the middle now. And it's a very interesting place to be in, and just as an observer of the world. But I'm so pleased I am seeing more goodness and kindness. I mean, are you seeing God just impact you, impact your life, impact your work? Are you seeing God over the last 10 weeks?
Oh, absolutely. As I say, I try to work on kingdom principles anyway. I do feel that, you know, that actually the position that I have now is very much God-given. He's opened doors for me right the way through my career. and I'm not saying that I've made all the right decisions, but I do see, because I haven't, but I do see him at work. And I think that those kingdom principles of being a servant, serving people, of wisdom and seeking his wisdom, giving direction, but also doing that in a humble way. I think that is so important when you're in a leadership position. And I've seen, I've experienced having the answers when I thought I didn't have the answers.
Yeah.
Sort of having the right words when, if I'd have thought about it beforehand, I wouldn't have had the right words.
Yeah.
And I know that that's when he's directing. And I've also, I mean, people at school know that I'm a Christian, and those that are Christian will actually talk to me about Christian things, and we'll have some really good conversations as well. So when I've done sort of personal telephone calls, we will talk about God and what he's doing, and I will tell people that I'll pray for them. So it's lovely to be in that position, and I just feel that talking to God on the go, it is something that I really try and do anyway. I'm not great at it, I'm not perfect at it, but I'm much better at talking to God on the go than I am sitting down and having an hour's prayer time.
Yeah.
I'm more a let's chat whilst I'm in the car on the way to work. Let's chat about this situation. I'm sat in the office, and it's like that constant going to and having somebody there to talk things through with, and I do know that he's there. He's been there for me in all of this. So.
I mean, it's fantastic, because the way you're describing there is it's really similar to what I remember of Brother Lawrence, the monk who talks about practicing the presence of God. And actually, that's what you've been living out. This constant, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, it's not putting God in a box and saying, I'll come to God in 3 hours when I've got some quiet time. It's that presence of God with you in everything that you're doing, and you're seeing him provide and step in and give you what's required in a moment as you're walking into them. And I love that, because that shows our God is alive. Our God is with us. He's not far from us. And that gives us so much more confidence, doesn't it, when we walk into other situations, because we know he goes with us.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you. I'd almost want to encourage everyone listening to this, start practicing God in those everyday moments like Sharon's doing, because you can be talking to God on the go. It's a massive help. I mean, we're almost out of time, which is a shame. I could do this for an hour. But what do you want us, if this is your chance for whoever's listening, what would you want people to be praying for? What could people do to help schools, do you think, to help the situation that the world is in? What can we be praying for, and what can we be doing?
Well, definitely wisdom for leaders and compassion for the teachers. I would hate to see teachers and parents working against each other, or and I think there's got to be a lot of understanding there. And I think praying for our communities, so that schools understand the need of their community, and the community understand that school is trying to do the best for them, to help them and to serve them, because basically that is what schools do, and well, the ones that I know do anyway. So it's definitely covering that idea of wisdom, and that community feeling, and that working together, so that they can operate and they can do the best for each other.
I'd love to see that unity between parents and communities and schools, because that's when it works best, doesn't it? As you say, not when the two are fighting each other, but when they're together on something.
And not for media and unions to get in to drive them apart. I know the unions are only doing what they would think is right for the teachers, but in one way that can cause quite a lot of problems as well. So it's not about political gain. It's about working together for the best, and to keep people as safe as possible. So.
I mean, that's such a wise piece of thing to be praying for: wisdom, unity, togetherness, for the safety and the good of everyone. I mean, some people go, well, isn't that obvious? But actually be surprised when you do look at the media or you do listen to things, you think, are
Yes.
people actually on the same page here? So I think that's really wise to do that. And any practical advice for us? Anything that you think this would really help right now if people did this, whatever it is?
Well, a lot of people will be making decisions about whether to send their children back or not if they're in the year groups that have been selected. Practically, I'd say don't stress about online learning. Prioritise. And if you are at all worried about what your children are doing or not doing, as the case may be, and I know how difficult it must be educating at home, then you can help schools by just prioritising the things like phonics and reading and doing that rather than trying to do every little thing that's set for you. This is something that I know our parents have been very concerned about, and I just want to take the pressure off a little bit for all those parents out there that might be listening to this, that actually prioritise. And the best thing you can ever do, certainly with the children that I teach, my up to 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, is read with them, read stories to them, talk to them, and give them a love of stories and books, because that's going to take them an awful long way. And I know that's very practical, isn't it? But
I love that. I mean, it's simple. That's the thing. Almost sometimes people forget the powerfulness of the simplest actions. You know, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But Sharon, I just want to thank you for just giving up half an hour of your time for us. Honestly, you've been helpful, you've been practical, you've been insightful, you've shown wisdom. And I just want to thank you for what you're doing, for just not only for what you do for us here at Riverside and being part of the worship team, but how you're leading that school and trying to connect a community together in unity, wisdom and love. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Hear that from us, and we will be praying for you. And thank you so much. And have a great week. Good luck with everything back at school.
Thank you. That's brilliant. Thanks.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.